Oh, they're laughing at me. I know that. You can't hurt my feelings if I'm in on the joke.
Are you though?
I hate that I love this. Welcome friends and bystanders to what is sure to be the most confusing review to date. Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, aka Modern Roger Rabbit, aka how the f did Disney get Sega to agree to this? For those of you who don't know, Rescue Rangers was a show from the late 80s about two chipmunk brothers who start a detective agency, as you do, and go on adventures with their friends and solve crimes. And as someone who grew up watching the show, I'm kind of the main target audience for this film, because I watched it and I don't remember a single thing about it, besides the theme song. So naturally, given my apathy towards the franchise, it's very easy for me to say that I wasn't interested in watching this thing. But the early reviews came in, and to my surprise, people were actually digging it. And I thought they were lying. But now I knew I had to watch it for myself, to find out, was it really as good as people were saying? Would it awaken any nostalgic memories? Would it awaken anything else in me? And friends, the answer to all of that is yes. Kinda. See, the actual plot of the film asks the question everyone was begging to know about the Rescue Rangers. What if the TV show from the 80s was a TV show in an animated world where everyone in it were washed up actors? I know, absolutely the premise you were begging for, and not at all a cheap ploy to sidestep actually remaking the world and ignoring the prior characterization. Plus, everyone watches cartoons to see real people in it. The cast of Chip and Dale, though, has gone their separate ways. Dale fucked the show over by leaving to star in a failed pilot, and has spent the last couple years scraping by off of people's nostalgia, while Chip sells insurance. They haven't talked in years till their former co-star gets kidnapped by the Valley Gang over his cheese debt, with the two former friends having to come together in a race against time to rescue him. There are shenanigans, references, more references, and a bit of fun along the way. I'll move into spoilers in a bit, but I'll give my safe for work takes here. I enjoyed this film well enough. The plot is basic, the actual Rangers themselves are just Andy Samberg and a still cheating John Mulaney. If you like these actors, you'll most likely enjoy their performances. I am not a massive fan of either, but they're functional, with Samberg's energy really carrying a lot of the scene, which is what I expect from celebrity voice actors. Now, something I didn't expect was how self-aware this film was. Like, yeah, it's Ready Player One with cartoons. It was always going to be self-aware, but what I didn't expect was that it would almost work for me. The trend of self-aware cartoons has honestly started to grate on me, as so many shows just coast on pointing out a trope and then just doing it. Like you're not doing anything with it, so acknowledging that you know what you're doing doesn't add anything, it just stops the momentum of the scene. This film is doing a tightrope act. It leans between being bad and good constantly. When it doesn't work, it falls flat. But then it will look like it's falling flat, only to somersault into actually being funny. Like there's a running joke about rapping in cartoons and how it's a cheap way to make old shows seem hip. They set it up, and it kind of annoys the shit out of me, as it feels like such an obviously cheap shot for the audience to nod at, like, yes, I too hate cheap rap numbers in my movies. Then when it's finally time for them to rap, they actually do something kind of fun with it. I think that describes the film script overall. Some fairly cheap jokes aimed at reboots and references, all the things that they're doing, with some of them only drawing attention to what they're doing wrong, until the film finally decides to do something fun with it. But for me personally, that self-deprecating humor just kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth, even when I think the overall film works. It's a personal taste thing. I'm just so burnt out with certain trends, and this film is doing all of them. But if you're not as fatigued as I am, I can see you not having a problem with it. Speaking of problems, we gotta talk about Bad Sonic and just how many different animation references there are in this film. Because if you thought this was going to be Space Jam 2, but for Disney, you can take a breath. It's not Wreck-It Ralph 2. They're not being a complete merchandise whore, which is a shock. Because when the trailer first came out, pretty much everyone was writing this film off as being Ready Player Disney, and deservedly so, as cross-media stories has pretty much become the excuse every corporation wants to sell you on nostalgia without losing money on a Clockwork Orange spin-off, and get that quick serotonin boost using the familiar to trick you into thinking you're having fun. And don't get me wrong, this film is 1000% that. But it's the first case that actually manages to pull it off by not making it feel like an ad. And how they do it is actually pretty simple and kind of brilliant. Because they didn't make the film just about Disney. And here's what I mean. When I watch something like Space Jam 2, none of the cameos or references serve a purpose. They are just here to remind you of the things that Warner Brothers owns, and the sequels that they are making. Chip and Dale, though, subvert this a little bit, as rather than making the film a Disney shill, it made itself an animation shill. The legal team for this film deserves an award. The massive cast and references you see is just honestly insane, as there are so many people here that Disney doesn't own the rights to. You'll get what you expect. Baloo from Disney's Jungle Book is here, you have Dale, you have some of Marvel's forgotten properties, but then you have Ugly Sonic. Then there's My Little Pony, Jimmy Neutron, Sora, South Park. There's this constant stream of non-Disney properties in this film, diluting the Disney cameos just enough that it doesn't feel like Disney jerking itself off about how great it is. No, it is jerking off animation, which I salute. I think the best way to enjoy this film is to watch it with friends and look for the references. To treat it less like the unmemorable film that it is, and instead treat it like Pokemon Snap Animation Edition, where you're just going through the world and getting excited with your friends when you spot a cartoon you recognize. Bring drinks, have fun with it. This film is an amalgamation of some of the worst trends in Hollywood right now, but you can tell that the creative team behind it were doing their best to make it work and enjoyed doing it. When a character pops up, they pop up with a purpose. They appear because someone had an actual joke or deep cut that they wanted to make. The film is still a product, but you can feel that personal touch that makes it tolerable, rather than obnoxious or a stolen DeviantArt idea. There's a real passion here that I just have to respect, from the callbacks to the Uncanny Valley gang, just referencing those early 2000s, to the Twitter phenomenon himself. I don't like films being a callback fest, but I was so ready to be beaten over the head with the Disney schlock that the fact that I can feel a bit of the animation team's passion is a win. But we also gotta talk about how this film got the ugly ass Sonic model from the original film and made it into its own character. Like, wow, was that like, I needed to actually pay attention when that man came on screen.
Like me for who I am. Not like last time when the internet got one look at my human teeth and burned the place down.
For all 5 people who don't know about this drama, a few years back, Paramount made the dumbass decision to make a live-action Sonic bad enough on its own and showing a complete lack of faith in the medium, but to really show how out of touch the higher-ups for this film were, they scrapped the fun cartoony design of Sonic, the thing people want to see, and pushed him to be as realistic as possible, leading to this monstrosity.
Gotta go fast.
Meow. Yeah, human eyes, teeth, muscular legs, just everything no one wanted to see from a Sonic film. And people got pissed. But here's the thing. They expected the diehards to not like him. They're whiny man-children. The general audiences, though, they'll love—
Kill me! I'm in constant pain!
Nope. So this version of Sonic got canned, and they had to reanimate the whole film with what people actually wanted to see, and it basically saved the franchise, leaving this design to become one of the most infamous things in digital history. So for them to take it up, to redesign it, to make him look like a daily smoker, to get Sega and Paramount to agree to it, is just insane. It got a huge laugh out of me. They do repeat the teeth joke into the ground, but this is just one of those moments that really make the passion behind the film stand out when it really could have just coasted so hard. And I guess my final gripe before I go into spoilers has to be the animation. I think it's fine. These people definitely understood the assignment. I adore how they were able to mimic so many different eras of animation, but where the story just doesn't have the budget is the 2D characters. Because they're not 2D. They're 3D, but with what I think is cel shading to give it the appearance of traditional animation. And for the most part, it's fine. But in a film filled with Uncanny Valley jokes, the fact that they somehow created an Uncanny Valley for 2D, that's something. I thought I was gonna hate it more. It's fine after a while, but it still is something that doesn't fully trick my brain into not noticing. It'll look fine in certain shots and angles, but the second they turn their heads, you realize it's a 3D object pretending to be hand-drawn, and it takes me out of the scene as soon as I spot the cracks. This is definitely a budget thing. It would have cost way more to animate all these characters, but still way more noticeable than I would like. But not as atrocious as I thought it was gonna be. I have some minor spoilers I want to bring up, so skip to the end if you want my final thoughts. This'll be quick. Now, first things first, I want to talk about the villain. Will Arnett's Peter Pan. He's great. Will Arnett is Will Arnett. He's doing his thing. I'm enjoying it. But this being modern Hollywood with a film industry, it's a story about an actor who played Peter Pan in the original film before failing to find work later on in life and turning to crime. Interesting, tragic, but if you know the actual story of the voice actor behind Peter Pan, it's a little too real. Like, it's fun that he's being a crime boss. I do enjoy when he becomes like this hulking abomination of all these different animation styles. It doesn't fully go as far as I think it could, but I do think it's cool for what it is. As the man's a crime boss who kidnaps cartoon characters and changes their appearance and forces them to become bootleg versions of themselves, which is both darkly hilarious and hilarious again as we watch a corporate movie tell us that the big evil our heroes are fighting is copyright violations, which is very Disney. I was also kind of surprised by how little we got of Female Mouse Gadget. Like, she was barely in the film. I know this is a Chip and Dale movie, but if you were looking for more of the rest of the cast, you're gonna be sorely disappointed, as they aren't in the film that much.
Yeah, I guess my character from the old show and my character in real life are basically exactly the same.
Yeah, I guess so.
And that might be one of the lines where the script thinks it's way more clever and funny than it is. Like, it's patting itself on the back for thinking of an excuse for not putting in the work and giving her a separate character. Just like, oh yeah, I'm the same person on TV as I was in real life, ooh-wee. But she's the only character this applies to. Like, even the fucking Fly got voiced by the Allstate guy. His personality is a joke, but it's something. And I feel like that just applies to a lot of the film. There's moments that I like. It has some fun, interesting subversions, but a lot of time it just like does exactly what you'd expect. It does the reboot jokes. It does the, oh, are we getting a spinoff? No, oh, shucks. And then they draw attention to it, then they do it. And often it just doesn't work as well if they had just played it straight. Like, I swear, as much as I like Deadpool, self-awareness in TV shows and movies has kind of just been the death of TV shows and movies. There's so much brilliance you can do with that idea, but so often it's just lazy. While I'm complaining about inconsequential things, the rookie cop who helps the boys in the film, Kiki Lane, I believe is the actress's name, she's built up to be like a fake fangirl who you think is gonna be a twist villain, only for her to not be a twist villain. I think they should have made her a twist villain, because then it would make the bad acting actually make sense. Like, I'm sure she's great in other things, and she gets some of the worst lines, but she is noticeably phoning it in here. Also, just to go back to another thought, the part of the film where the chipmunks start rapping is both hilarious and very tired. First, I was super entertained that this was the direction they were going with. Once I realized the only joke here is that Dale can only rhyme his name with whale, it lost my interest again. It's a better move than just shamelessly giving into the gag that they were making fun of, but then they don't replace it with enough substance to actually make it worth your time. Which is a shame because, again, it just leaves this film being animation snap. Like, oh my god, look, there's the cats from Cats. And there's these Zemeckis film lookalike motherfuckers. You just have to find these little things like, oh yeah, I remember that, I remember that, I remember that. And that's mostly where you're gonna get most of the fun. The plot is basic, and it's not great. It's fine. But having that small bit of recognition with your friends is probably gonna be the most enjoyment you get out of this whole experience. Because this isn't really a Rescue Rangers movie. They could have done this film with any animated characters. This is basically Toontown Hollywood edition, which is fine, but the plot doesn't fully support what it's trying to do. I don't know though. I thought I had more spoiler thoughts, but I already led with Ugly Sonic, and nothing in this film is really worth spoiling, so I guess I'll wrap it up here. Overall, I don't think this is a great film. Better than I expected, but for as much as it being a shill for animation keeps it from being an IP fest, it doesn't create a great movie. This film is best enjoyed with friends and just taking the cheap serotonin where you can, before you ultimately never watch it again, or catching a YouTube video that points out every animation reference so you don't have to. I salute the people that made this film, I salute the legal team that made it happen, but unfortunately it's only the best version of a bad trend, and it's simply no Roger Rabbit. But at least it's not Ready Player One. Check it out, it's on Disney+, it's mercifully short, coming in at around only an hour 40-ish. Thank you all for watching, share this video if you want to annoy somebody's inbox, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and no, I don't know what it does. Thank you all, peace out, bye.